Hello, Isuru.
Hi, Nitish.
Hi, Isuru. Can you share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, can see. So we'll give everyone a few more minutes to join, and we'll start at around 2:05. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Isuru, think we can start now. So I'll start off with a little introduction to the session and a little bit about yourself, and then we can start. Yeah. Hello, Isuru. Okay. So hi everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for joining the 11th session of the Podium Tech Talk series organized by Aziara Digital Labs. The purpose behind this Tech Talk series is to explore the latest trends in the world of technology and digital transformation from our very own tech experts and the services ADL provides that accelerate the global digital adoption of businesses around the world. So for today's session, we focus on an interesting and trending topic, ChatGPT, and most importantly, demystifying ChatGPT, a topic that has been gaining a lot of traction recently on how it's going to revolutionize multiple industries across the world. And joining you for today's session as a speaker is Isuru Alagiyawanna, a data scientist from Asia Digital Labs, Sri Lanka. Isuru is a skilled and experienced professional with a strong background in electronic and telecommunications engineering from the University of Moratuwa. He also holds multiple certifications in and from Amazon Web Services, Deep Learning.ai, University of Michigan, IBM, and AMII. So you guys are in good hands today. I'll now hand over the session to Isuru, who will be focusing on today's topic. Isuru, over to you.
Thank you, Nitish, for the introduction. Hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, can hear. All good.
Okay, thank you. So today's topic all about demystifying ChatGPT. I know, most of you seeking about ChatGPT in past 3 months since it released. Okay. So for an example, when I working with ChatGPT, it prompt different kind of things. I mean, like every domain. So for an example, how keen people about ChatGPT, when I scroll through my LinkedIn, out of 10 posts, I see minimum 5 or 6 posts about either ChatGPT or large language models. So ChatGPT became that much viral since it released. Even OpenAI wouldn't think that would make such an impact in the whole world. Even I mean, as kids or without any age difference, like people interested in ChatGPT. So why this is so special? Okay, so there are other large language models for conversational AI. Why ChatGPT? So the best question is why ChatGPT is so special. Okay, so that's what we're gonna find out today. So let's understand some underlying hood which work with ChatGPT. Okay, so if you're a ML geek or if you're seeking information about ChatGPT, so probably you should find these two terms, or you should have meet these terms. Okay, the first thing is generative artificial intelligence, aka generative AI. So generative AI, nothing but the definition is included in the name itself, which generate new content. It may be a video, audio, maybe a text, any kind of content using a prompt provided by human or user. So now you obviously realize that ChatGPT is a generative AI tool. So the question is, how the heck ChatGPT generate this kind of amazing text content? Okay, so the answer is natural language processing. So natural language processing is a branch of AI which basically provide computers to understand both written and spoken context in a human level. Okay, so basically, if I summarize, give brief about ChatGPT, which is nothing but a great powerful combination of generative AI and natural language processing. So when you're going to check the underlying hood of ChatGPT, it's really need to look at the history of large language models. So I'll explain what is the meaning of large language models in the later section. However, I included the term NLP as well here. The reason is NLP. This is not the summary. I mean, the timeline of NLP. This is the basic key landmarks and timeline of large language models. But NLP is also when considered with large language models. So this would be also be some key landmarks. So in 1979, the first convolutional neural network introduced, which called neurocognitor, which basically developed for low resolution image classification. But with the time, people develop their mindsets and they want to do processing with text. Okay, so in this case, they use CNNs to process text, but it worked up to some level, but unfortunately, it cannot proceed to beyond that level we expect of. So with the case of this, in 1986, AI researchers developed this novel neural network architecture called recurrent neural network. Okay, which represent here. You can see the architecture of recurrent neural network here, which will introduce as vanilla recurrent neural network. But the problem with this introduced neural network architecture is it can only process like maybe 2 or 3 sentences. The reason is it has a terrible issue with the architecture called vanishing gradient problem. So in order to overcome this issue, in 1997, researchers improved the vanilla recurrent neural network and developed long short-term memory, aka LSTM model. So you don't have to worry about the inside these connections, these terms. Okay, like just get the idea of the architecture. Like when comparing with vanilla recurrent neural network, LSTM has so much connections. Okay, so which means LSTMs can be work up to 250 tokens, like words. Okay, so it can predict up to 250 tokens. But the problem is LSTM is very complex with the architecture. So it takes so much time to train. Also, it needs very good resources. I mean, like for an example, you need good GPUs to train these LSTMs model based on the size of the dataset. So after 17 long years, researchers developed this novel architecture called GRU, which stands for Gated Recurrent Unit, in order to reduce or overcome these issues in LSTM. So GRU is basically, we can introduce as the lighter version of LSTM, which is 30% faster than LSTM. So in both training and inference time. So this is how basic RNN variants evolve. But the problem is, with the development of the technology and NLP, including deep learning, people tend to develop much more complex tasks like text summarization, question and answering, neural machine translation. But the problem is, sometimes these kind of complex tasks cannot be done using this kind of basic architecture. Okay, so in that case, in 2017, researchers developed this novel architecture called attention with transform architecture. So I would say this is just a neural machine translation paper, nothing but just a NLP paper which developed for certain specific task. But I would say this is the climax of deep learning in 2010, maybe even more. The reason is now we use attention and transformers in everywhere, in every aspect of deep learning. The reason is the concept of attention is very powerful in and can apply in each domain. Okay, and then this is the architecture they produced. Okay, this is the architecture they suggested. This is the popular transformer architecture. So this has 3 main components: positional encoding, attention, and self-attention. So I know what you're thinking when you see the diagram. It's very messy, and don't worry, I'm not going to discuss this. This is very messy, and it takes a lot of time and involves a lot of math to introduce this diagram. So instead of that, I would rather like to tell a story, how this happens and why they introduced this. Okay, so here's the story. In 2015, around 2015, people are, as I mentioned, people are very interested in applications like neural machine translation and text generation and text summarization kind of things. However, the initial architecture proposed for that kind of application is sec-to-sec architecture. Also, we call sequence to sequence. So this is the basic architecture for sequence to sequence diagram. So it's simple. You input a sequence and you will output a sequence. So this is the initial architecture they initially proposed for neural machine translation. So if you don't know about neural machine translation, it's nothing but Google Translate. So you can see that's the best application you take from machine translation. So Google Translate is the best application. So what you do is you input a certain sentence to the encoder, and decoder will generate the sentence. So if you see here, the encoder take the input and create a vector called thought vector, which is a compressed representation of the input. So this is a fixed size vector. So the problem with the sequence to sequence architecture is, irrespective of the content you input, the size of the thought vector is same. So even you input a sentence, even you input a document, even you input a paragraph, even you input a book, the size of the thought vector is same. So the problem is, in simple terms, this will clearly lead to a information loss. So in this case, seek-to-seek architecture literally failed to perform very well in this kind of complex architecture, complex task. Sorry. So okay. So in 2017, Google developers at University of Toronto, they developed this novel architecture, which called transformers in this paper, and with attention mechanism. So they just developed this, they proposed this method just for neural machine translation application. But because of the concept of attention, that may become very viral, and now we are applying attention in every aspect, including computer vision. We call vision transformer. In graph neural network, we use graph transformers, and many more things. So attention mechanism is a bit complex. However, this is the simplest explanation I found in the internet. So what attention mechanism do is, for each output token, decoder wants to know which input token in the encoder to pay attention. So it's like when you translate in between two languages, when you generate the output sequence, for each word in output sequence, you want to know which input word in the input sequence you should pay attention. So if I recall seek-to-seek architecture, what they does is take the whole input sentence and compress that into single vector. So that's not how basically human does. What human does is understand the sentence, grab the key terms or phrases, or maybe words, and then we, based on those phrases or words, what we do is translate back into other language. So that's what basically attention do here. So for each output word, using attention mechanism, the decoder search what are the key words, or what are the important words in the input sequence I should pay attention. So it's very simple. That's what we do basically. So this is the diagram, how they propose for attention mechanism. So this is the encoder. So encoder has basically 5 words. So this is a particular word in the decoder, particular word generated in the decoder. Don't worry about the many more equations. The encoder has 5 words. And this is the specific word at the decoder. So what decoder does is, he look through all the words and create this CT, which called context vector. So context vector, what basically do is, it assign a weight alpha, which denoted attention weights. So attention weight is very simple. Based on the importance, you will assign the weight for each word. So if attention mechanism tells for generating this word in the output sequence, H1 word is important, then it will assign a much bigger weight for H1. So that's simple. That's how attention mechanism works. So based on the important words, you will assign a weight for each word. So that's how attention works. So I also have to dive into a bit of theory here, because it's pretty hard to give the underlying hood of ChatGPT without introducing transformers. However, now you heard a lot of words, including attention, transformers, like large language models and everything. So all these concepts is connected by this word large language models. So large language model is just a deep learning algorithm which recognize, summarize, translate, and predict and generate text content based on massive data sets. This massive data sets part comes into play when you see the large in the LLM part. So like there are popular algorithms in large language models, including GPT-3 by OpenAI, Loom by HuggingFace. I'll explain what are those, like if you're not familiar with HuggingFace. And this is very interesting, double LMA, Llama, family by Meta. So just 3 days ago, Meta released this new set of models, which has parameters from 7 billion to 65 billion. Then we have Lambda, family by Google, very popular for conversational AI. Then Palm, again Palm LLM by Google, and finally Pangu Alpha, which is a clone version of GPT-3 developed for Chinese language by Huawei. So okay, so now you heard large language models. So why we use large language models? That's because how you generate content. So if I recall, ChatGPT is a generative AI tool which generate amazing content using NLP. So this how it generates this amazing content is using large language models. So the backbone of GPT-3 is basically backbone of ChatGPT is basically GPT-3 version. To be precise, actually, it's not GPT-3, GPT 3.5 version. However, these are the main versions of GPT. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. So it's basically, as I mentioned, it's a transformer architecture. So GPT-1, so with the release of transformers in 2017, OpenAI released GPT-1 in 2018, as I remember, which can predict up to 512 tokens. Here you can see this token means a word. So which has like 117 million parameters. This is huge. Okay, this is huge. And also GPT-2, which released in 2019, mid of the 2019, which can predict up to 1,024 tokens, which has parameters up to 1.5 billion. Then finally, they released GPT-3 version in 2020, which has 175 billion parameters, which is huge. You see in this figure, so these blue boxes indicate the size of the each number of parameters. So you see how the growth of the size. Okay, so like when you comparing GPT-1, GPT-3 is very huge, right? So you can feel many boxes here. So based on GPT-3, actually, they do some minor changes on GPT-3, and they created GPT 3.5, and they backbone that is ChatGPT. So this is basically evolution of GPT-3. However, there are some rumors about GPT-4. So GPT-4 is an improvement of GPT-3, but there is still they didn't release GPT-4, sorry. However, there are some rumors about GPT-4. So according to GPT-4 rumors, so like several sources inform that GPT-4 release, which has 100k billion parameters, can compare with GPT-3. So if you see GPT-3 as this simple dot, GPT-4 is this very big circle. Okay, so there are some rumors about GPT-4. However, we don't know when it released or when it backbone with ChatGPT. So that's how basically about GPT evolution. So now you see these are very big models, right? One has 117 million parameters, one has 1.5 billion parameters, one has 175 billion parameters. So now we see how we can train these models. Okay, so if I recall there, so these are some companies developed these large language models. Okay, so like you may be familiar with OpenAI with the release of ChatGPT, and you probably familiar with Meta, Huawei, and Google. But I want to introduce you HuggingFace. HuggingFace. Okay, so let me describe OpenAI first. OpenAI is like as they explained, OpenAI is an AI research and development company. So which is their mission is to bring AGI to level that helps humanity. So OpenAI and OpenAI founded with Elon Musk and Elon Musk in 2015. So what they do is they develop these large language models and they provide you to use in your use case. Okay. On the other hand, there is HuggingFace. HuggingFace is also a company, but it's more than a company. It's a community that could provide you to train and build, train and deploy your models and even store your datasets. Okay. So I would say the best definition for HuggingFace is the machine learning for GitHub for machine learning. GitHub for machine learning which act like the same because you can store any kind of thing you want, you can train and you can deploy things. So why these two companies? So why not others? Okay. So like I here mentioned especially these two companies because these companies help AI research communities to access their models pretty easily and use for their use cases. For an example, OpenAI provide you $18 free trial, and you can use that $18 free trial to access their models, including computer vision, reinforcement learning, graph, and NLP. All HuggingFace contains all kind of these different kind of models in different domains. Okay, so OpenAI provide $18 free tier, which basically have applications related to NLP, like text summarization, embedding generation, and text completion, and many more. So on the other hand, HuggingFace, which provide much more broader applications, not just in NLP, including reinforcement learning, audio generation, video generation, on the other hand, graph analysis, so variety of models. So HuggingFace contains, as I remember, end of the 2022, they contains around 500K models and 1 million datasets. So different people can upload their own datasets in private space, or same for the model. So others can access them freely. So it's like the home for transformer modeling. Yeah. So the next question is the best question of the whole discussion. Sorry, the presentation. Why ChatGPT is so good? Okay, why ChatGPT is so good? So before discussing about ChatGPT, let me recap the history. So if you see here, so in 2017 they introduced transformers, and 18 and 19 they developed GPT-1 and 2 versions, and 2020 they released OpenAI released GPT-3. But the most interesting paper released by 2022 January, which called Instruct GPT. So the specialty of Instruct GPT is, rather than when comparing with other conversational AI, which use reinforcement learning from human feedback to make significant impact on training large language models. So the term is reinforcement learning from human feedback. So if you are not familiar with reinforcement learning, it is like not like basic machine learning and deep learning. You cannot train the models using data. What happens is, using explicit historical large data sets, what you do is learning by the experience. Let me give a brief example. So imagine you are a kid. Okay, imagine you are a kid. Um you're doing something bad. You're doing something bad, but you don't know whether that is bad or not. Okay. So, for example, you're saying a bad word. You're saying a bad word, but whether you don't know whether this word is bad or not. So when you say this, what your mother do is she will punish you. She will punish you. So you punished. Now you realize that I did something bad, so that's why she punished me. So now you realize you got a negative reward from your mother. So since you got a negative reward from your mother, you won't do that again. So that's the whole concept. If I summarize to about reinforcement learning, if I summarize to simple terms. So what reinforcement learning do is they want to maximize the reward uh, by taking certain action. So in reinforcement learning, what we do is basically then take actions which maximize our reward. So in that case, in the example, my first action is I say a bad word. So that action leads to negative reward. In that case, I don't do that action again because I got a negative reward. So that's the basic idea of reinforcement learning by the experience. So the reason, as I recall, the reason for why ChatGPT is so good is the reinforcement learning from human feedback, which introduced in Instruct GPT. So the reason OpenAI introduced this uh, novel approach is uh, LLMs have these typical problems, and that may lead to very broader things, including first thing is a lack of helpfulness. Sometimes you realize if you try ChatGPT, it doesn't do what you tell. Okay, it doesn't do what you tell. So based on the feedback, you would be able to tackle these problems. Next one, the best. The worst part. This would be the This would do the biggest impact in many domains that reflect on non-existing or incorrect facts. So, ChatGPT telling things that very confident, but he lying to you. Okay, he lying to you. But as a human, when you telling something not confident or incorrect, so you can, based on your how you're talking, we can realize this person is not confident or not telling the truth about particular thing. But here, what he's telling is ChatGPT's interpretability is quite good, so he can tell lies with quite good intents, and you won't be able to capture them. And again, lack of interpretability. Sometimes you won't be able to understand how it generate the answer. So based on your feedbacks, you can clarify that more. And finally, this is also maybe a big problem and like toxic and based content. So again, also based on the content and the feedbacks, you can solve these problems. So actually, the final step is mostly based on the data that you provided. And if that contains a significant toxic and biased content, it will clearly lead to biased responses and toxic responses. So these problems able to tackle with reinforcement learning from human feedback. Okay. Now now we're going to see how ChatGPT is trained. So the training has mainly three parts. The first thing is supervised fine tuning, which called SFT model. So first thing is, in simple terms, you need heck of a data set, which prompts and responses. So imagine this example prompt explain the moon landing for a 6-year-old. So you need prompts, this kind of prompts, and a set of labeled responses. So as the OpenAI tells, they hired 40 contractors to write responses for and generate this kind of large content. And after that, what what it does is using that created data set, they will train the supervised model and sorry, not train, they fine tune the GPT-3 model with supervised learning. So that's the step one, how it trains the ChatGPT. Step two is, this is how ChatGPT become differ from other mechanisms and other conversational layers. The reward model. So what it does is, as I recall, for each action you take, it is rewarded. Okay. So in this case, for each response ChatGPT provide, it will be rewarded. So if it provide a bad answer, it will rewarded negative. Okay. It provide a good answer, it will rewarded positive. So like if I recall, so first thing is ChatGPT or any kind of LLM, they not just provide only one answer for each prompt, each user prompt. They provide multiple answers, maybe between 4 to 9 answers, and they sample answers from that base. So the sampling is developed using this reward model. So imagine you have, imagine a GPT-3 LLM here produce 4 answers, which indicate using A, B, C, and D. So labeler, so dataset creators, what does is they label from best to worst, best to worst. So using these answers, next what we do is we created pairs. So if GPT-3 provides 4 answers, we can create 6 pairs, as you can see here. So like A versus B, A versus C, A versus D, that kind of 6 kind of pairs we can do here. So next what we do is, based on these, since we already have labeled these answers, we can train a supervised learning model. So what we do is we feed our answers, and also as the labels we provide the pairs. The pairs means as they labeled. So if A versus B, if A is greater than B, so like A will be positive rewarded, B will be negative rewarded. Okay. So based on this, it will generate a reward for each answer. So this is what happens in reward model. So next is how ChatGPT is trained under the part 3 of how ChatGPT trained is the reinforcement learning model. The reinforcement learning model. So here's the most complex part happens. So after generating a prompt, for a prompt after generating a response, what we do is we pass that response for our reward model. So the reward model will generate a reward for each response. So using a novel technique which developed in 2017, as I remember, which called proximal policy optimization, what it do is it will dynamically update supervisory fine-tuned model using KL penalization. So this is a bit complex ideology. So using this reinforcement learning concept, which called proximal policy optimization, what we do is the reward will be fetched into supervised fine-tuned model and penalize that based on reward provided by reward model. So using this dynamically, the model get updated using the prompt we generated and the feedbacks. So this is why ChatGPT is pretty much good, pretty much interactive with you when you provide answers. So, but this human feedback thing sometimes may lead to worse. Okay. I think you may familiar with this kind of memes a lot. I mean, like I saw plenty. Like ChatGPT is not basically perfect. Okay. So like see here, this person asked who is the CEO of Twitter. So he responded, Elon Musk. Okay. So again, he asked, how did you know it happened in 2022? So as OpenAI announced, the ChatGPT has knowledge up to 2021. So what it tells is even his answer is correct. I mean, the ChatGPT's answer is correct in the previous occasion. It tells my knowledge cut off at 2021. So I can't confirm the CEO of the Twitter as basically Elon Musk. Okay. So even the answer he provided is correct. Okay. Based on the human feedback, he rejects his answer and he says, I may be not wrong. I may be not correct. That's why he basically says, I'm not be it not be Elon Musk. It may be Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey. Okay. So this is purely because of the feedback he provided. So again he asked, so then why you originally answer with CEO? So if I recall it, the human feedback thing, what happens is after initially answer this generate this prompt, he answer ChatGPT answer CEO of the Twitter is Elon Musk. So this response, this feedback is not good. I mean, it's not very positive since it's like ChatGPT is lied because ChatGPT told he has the knowledge up to 2021. So this feedback generated a negative reward. In that case, ChatGPT generated the next response that it cannot confirm uh, because of this feedback. So again, this person stick it that then ask why you tell the CEO as Elon Musk. Okay. So the ChatGPT realized the situation is getting worse. Okay, my reward is getting worse. So what he does is apologize. Okay. And saying I am a machine learning model. Sometimes my responses may be incorrect. So I'm sorry. Even he told the correct answer because of the human feedback, he led to provide the wrong answer. So this may be a thing. However, one thing you should note is ChatGPT is not perfect. Okay. So these are the things usually how it works when ChatGPT trained and how the response patterns would work. So next part is like the most interesting part, I think, like how we can use this. So like I think most of you familiar with how you can use ChatGPT. Okay, but if I recall, so with the release of December in 2022, most people use this as a AI writing tool. Okay. So I mean it's okay, but the problem is, if I recall, LLM has this problem contains hallucination. We always should focus on this because ChatGPT can write content. It can write content which is uh, clearly a lie, but it can be written in a very confident manner. Okay. So this must be a very very troubling thing because when you create content, you need to verify this content using another shadow person. Okay. So like you cannot directly stick with this content because still ChatGPT is in a version 1 even like it's beta version. So with the development, we may be able to improve this, like the credibility of the data they provided, but this hallucination thing still uh, even exists in large language models. So the next thing is, so as the existing conversational AI, you can replace existing conversational AI with ChatGPT. So that's pretty obvious. So you can enhance your performance. So it will be able to really help to work a new application. So it's like ChatGPT premium version released, I think, it's kind of $20. So it may be very potential to access, and it's also may useful when you generating the content. So like these conversational AIs may be very important in industries like healthcare, traveling, and human resources and e-commerce platforms. So based on that, you can based on your application, you can use this to generate content. And also I saw people using ChatGPT instead of Google. So that's a very good thing. Like you can, so like ChatGPT's interpretability is pretty good. So you can generate content and get much more clear answers. But again, the thing you should focus is you cannot exactly accept what ChatGPT says because those answers mostly may contain hallucinations because uh, the LLM issues. So these are the like I as I saw these are some interesting things you can do. So like also you can generate like new job roles as well, like prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is not easy as you think. Like even writing, so even generating content, you should need the technique and creativity to get the answers from ChatGPT. Okay, so like prompt engineering is would be very uh, good job opportunity you may get with the improvement of ChatGPT. Okay, so as I mentioned, still this is the first version of ChatGPT. So you might think how the improved in future. So if you remember, Google released a new conversational AI called Bart in few like couple of weeks ago, and the most interesting thing is today morning I got the news that Meta AI released this novel conversational AI called Chat Llama, based on Llama uh, large language model, which has parameters from 6 billion to 75 billion. So you can see now there's a lot of competition between these giants. So like after OpenAI releasing, these giants released two large language models and conversational AIs. Because of this competition, I think it will be very beneficial for us because the growth may be exponential. So like even they're in a competition, it will be good for us because like these tools improve as much as fast because it is very useful for us, like very in every aspect, including content generation as I expected. So improvement of these tools may be very useful for us. So in this case, this competition may lead to uh, very good output from large language models and conversational AI. Okay. So okay. So the question, most of the people searching in Google, will ChatGPT, not in Google, maybe in ChatGPT itself as well, will ChatGPT take your jobs? Okay, take your jobs. Actually, it depends on job role you're doing and the quality of service you provided. Just forget ChatGPT. If you're familiar with Midjourney or DALL-E 2, which are so powerful tools used to create contents from text prompts. Okay, like it will create unreal image content from your text prompt. So as I remember, some people are claiming that they lost their jobs because of these tools. It is very possible. So like rather spending maybe $1,000 on an employee to generate this kind of content, maybe you generating graphics, maybe you generating NFTs, you can just spend maybe a couple of $100 on these tools, and you can generate thousands of content. Okay, so it you can't blame the technology. So what you can do is improve your quality of service. So it depends actually. So similar kind of thing maybe happen to in ChatGPT as well, like for AI creators. So like yeah, article writers or content creators. Okay, so this maybe happens because like in content creation can be replaced with ChatGPT. But the problem is, as I mentioned, the hallucinations of the content they provided. It may be that it could contain some fake data. So anyway, you should need supervision to supervise the content it generated in order to avoid the in order to improve the credibility of the source. also, it's actually like if I take tools like OpenAI Codex and GitHub Copilot, did programmers or developers shake and they afraid they might lose their jobs? No, that's the reason because they know that even these kind of tools came out, like you cannot replace exactly the job role you're doing. So like you may be able to so like these programs may be able to do right programs, but the entire system, like not just the program, so it contains a lot of effort in both system. So it's not pretty easy to replace this, but some jobs may be replaced based on the role. And what you can do is you can't blame the tool. What you can do is you can improve your quality of service. Okay, that's it for the presentation. I think you understood the underlying hood works in ChatGPT and including transformers and overall architecture of ChatGPT. So over to you, Nitish.
Thank you, Isuru. Thank you for that insightful session. So floor is open now for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can clear your doubts about ChatGPT, AI, ML, or any other questions you have about today's topic. You guys can also put in your questions in the comments as well. Isuru can check the comments and address your questions as well. Think we're all good, Isuru. Think everyone has a solid understanding now on what ChatGPT is and what the future looks like. Oh, we do have a few questions on the chat. Isuru, can you check the chat? You have access to the chat, yeah?
So DevOps tools, like I think still if you go into the OpenAI website, they in the heading they mentioned that OpenAI ChatGPT API is coming soon. Okay, like if you go to the website, so still I think you won't able to integrate on those tools, but clearly after they releasing the API, you can integrate that with any kind of tool, and you can even fine tune in your own task as well. Okay, impact of this in future. Okay, so it will be complicated. So since these tools are very costly, like, so I wasn't actually able to mention that. So as OpenAI mentioned, they actually didn't release the training cost, but maintenance cost is $3 million per month. $3 million per month. It's not simple, okay? So like when you increase the complexity of these models, so it may be only capable of processing with maybe large scale companies, because sometimes you won't be able to afford this. So like anyway, the domains I mentioned, like healthcare and including e-commerce, retail. So that kind of sites maybe include very because the prompt engineering and other conversational sites. But however, we cannot exactly tell. I think you are asking the impact of means like how it affect for job roles, right? So like as I mentioned again, if I'm thinking the same you're thinking, like we cannot tell because it depends actually in the future model. So like especially hallucination kind of things, it depend how you can develop this content and how you can overcome. So because as everyone mentioned, and even the different giants, including the Anlikun, Andre Kapati, and as they mentioned, this hallucination is the main concern of large language models and conversational AI, because that's pretty dangerous in many aspects. Like they tell lies with in a very confident manner. So like we cannot exactly tell. So some roles may be effect, but we cannot exactly tell how this will evolve. So like we maybe can get some idea if they release ChatGPT 4, because that is a massive improvement. Okay, let's see. Okay. So they have APIs for GPT-3, like so DaVinci 3 engine. So like text completion, embedding generation, summarization, that kind of applications all available with that $18 free tier. You can play with GPT-3. As I remember, that's DaVinci 3 engine in OpenAI. So you can use. How do you see ChatGPT in 5 to 10 years? Like exactly, this may be improving it, like not just a conversational AI. So like maybe we can integrate these with voice commands, and like basically you can do anything like home automations, or like also including every aspect of domain. Also, if you forget the conversational part here, what it basically does is, based on a prompt, it generates something. Okay, so however, generative, so if you talk about generative AI, that will be the future in even in image processing, even in text processing, or any kind of a domain. ChatGPT is like generative AI is the future, because it can generate content. So like instead of ChatGPT, it's better if we can talk about generative AI, because ChatGPT itself just cannot outperform things, but the combination of generative AI tools, it can do a lot of things, because generative content is very powerful. Will the AI bubble burst like NFT? Well, so like basically now NFT bubble is burst by AI, like that's what happened. If you check the diffusion model, stable diffusion, like most of the people using AI to create NFTs. Okay, so I don't think this would happen, because this industry is evolving every day. So like you can automate things pretty easy. So rather thinking AI as end your career, okay, rather thinking that AI will end your career. So use that to make your life easy. Okay, for an example, so as a developer, a programmer, I won't afraid, because OpenAI released the OpenAI Codex, I will lose my job. So, okay, but I use OpenAI GitHub Copilot to make my coding life easy. Okay, so instead of thinking always will I lose the job, try to think how we can use this to easier my job, or how to improve the quality of service. That would make your life easy.
Okay, so I think we've had a few questions, a lot of insightful answers. Does anyone else have any final questions before we end off today's session? Yeah, I think we're all good, Isuru. Thank you so much for taking the time to carry out the 11th session of the Podium, and thank you everyone for joining the 11th session. Stay tuned for more. We'll be having more interesting topics coming your way. Thank you, guys.